Switch. Switch. Switch.
Like five. Hello and welcome everybody to the 12th episode of Meet a Streamer, our bi-weekly show where we interview streamers from the Borderlands community. And once again, I think it's amazing that we've actually made it past 3 episodes. If DLC 6 has taught us anything, then it's that getting past 3 episodes is the goal. Today, I would like to introduce you to a wonderful streamer, and his name is Broken English. Say hello, Broken.
How's it going, guys?
Hi. Also, alongside Broken, our second guest tonight is VanderForge. Nice to have you here. Welcome.
What? What do you want?
You said you're not gonna scream too much.
You just woke up, guys. Don't worry, he's a little bit confused.
Cranky. Okay, and I'm gonna go straight to the question to you guys. So we just had release of the newest DLC, and I want you to tell us what is your opinion on newest DLC? What parts of the new DLC did you like the most? Any of you can start. Go ahead.
I'll go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely loved every single part of it. I took all 4 characters through the Ava missions over the course of the week, and I really enjoyed it. The replayability is just 100% there for me. It did not get boring whatsoever. You know, watching the same thing happen, or listening to the same voice lines. I liked how they had different voice lines for every Vault Hunter. Hemovorous and Vermivorous were everything I wanted them to be. The Vault Room was super interesting. Anoint reroll has made building that much more fun. I give it like a 9 out of 10 for sure.
All right, and for you, Vander?
A lot of us who have played the franchise for the last couple of games, whether it be like 2 to 3 going up in, or even pre-sequel, have been asking for some quality of life changes and some updates to the game that would keep it fluent and a little bit more replayability, a little bit better accessing to gear as far as making characters. And I gotta tell you, man, it's to me it's proof that time and time again that Gearbox is listening to the player base, and while they are trying to implement things that are important to them, they are very, very, very much listening to the feedback of the community and the people that are a part of it. And even after they nerfed the world drop stuff, they brought some of it back, and they're bringing more of it back into the actual game. And I got to tell you, my favorite part of the DLC 6 was the fact that they introduced the reroll machine for the anointment. for anointment to guns. It literally, because a lot of people were frustrated because they're not like myself, who does this full time and has the time to play the game all the time. And it was a breath of fresh air to be able to get that gun and search for parts versus rather trying to match the gun and then praying that you get the actual anointment to go with the actual gun, so that you could DPS better, I guess, if you want to call it anything. I loved the DLC 6. I loved the missions. I was very, very into it. It was fun. It was entertaining. Quality of life got so much better, but the pinnacle of DLC 6 for me was the introduction of the anointment rerolls. It made and I'm not worried about the anointments anymore. I can farm for damage. I can farm for parts. I can farm for, a little bit, kind of tighter on the pool. And then I can farm up the iridium later on and change the anointments and be in a good position. Now, I think the anointments reroll's a little bit high, but as far as price goes for iridium, but we can talk about that later if you want to. But
No,
absolutely love DLC 6. Quality of life is up there. But I think it was a big savior for Borderlands 3 that they implemented that machine in there for some replayability and for the bigger drive. It opened up a lot of drive for the casual player to go in and just farm for parts and be like, oh my gosh, I got these great parts, but I have this shit anointment now. What do I do with this gun? It's going to be absolute crap. Now they can take the parts and re-roll the anointment and go off and blow stuff up.
I mean, so
Also the
far,
fact that-
like related to what you said, that they listen to community. They lately increased in the last hotfix, increased the drops of iridium in specific content. So I think instead of like dropping the price, they decided to go higher with iridium, and we'll see. Maybe they will also drop the price if community will still say that it's too high for them. Because I've seen people doing like several thousand, 10,000 iridium for one gun to get one anoint they really wanted.
I think they'll probably just increase the rate at which we get iridium rather than dropping the price of the machine. Like, if it feels pretty set, in my opinion, and what they want to do with it is what they wanted it to do is what they did with it. And so all I can see is them giving us another iridium event, something like that. To give console players, mainly is who I'm targeting at this point, because PC players aren't really as worried about iridium, in my opinion, or from what I've seen around the community, especially since DLC 6 came out.
Yeah, and there was one timed event with full of iridium, the cartels that we all were waiting for.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
hopefully it will happen soon, so we get more iridium and of course the awesome content. But I'm gonna have go to another question to you guys. So we're gonna talk about Borderlands tonight. But my first question about the Borderlands will be, what got you into the Borderlands? Where did you start with it? How did you start an adventure with Pandora?
Man, I was bummed out at my living situation at the time, because my friends around me, they were big Call of Duty players, they were big Halo players, and I was never really good at either of those titles, and I'm still not to this day. And I've always wanted to join in on the realm of the FPS of playing games like that. And here I get wind of a game that's literally inspired by one of my favorite franchises on the entire planet, which is the Diablo franchise. That was an FPS, had RPG elements to it, and a little bit of like, farming for the gear, farming for the stats, and all of a sudden, like, FPS mixing with RPG, mixing into a fun experience that was, kind of out there and crazy. And so I looked at this title and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give it a shot because this actually looks like a lot of fun. And every single one of my friends gave me the most shit about it because, oh, that's not a true FPS. You got to play something like that. And then how did I get it? I got into it I was bummed out because I couldn't play any of those games with my friends, and it was like my interest was born out of spite for being like, well, screw you, dude, because like you're gonna tell me what's a true FPS and what's not, and I can't find entertainment value out of it. So my journey into Borderlands actually started from a very sad, spiteful experience that turned into one of the most passionate experiences that I continue to enjoy this day. So yeah.
For me, I was about around 10 or 11, maybe a little bit older, and my stepdad had gotten me and my brother an Xbox 360, whatever console it was, and he was the dad that let us play Grand Theft Auto and those kind of games, the don't tell your mom sort of thing, and he got us Borderlands, and so you know what I mean, we both hopped in. I think I started with Brick, you know what I mean, and my brother had picked Lilith, and I didn't know any of the lore. I didn't know anything about really like FPS or like, you know what I mean? I'd really just been a video game kid, and I was really a Nintendo kid. So this was like my first title outside of Nintendo that I ever really like played. Fast forward like, 10 years, I kind of skipped Borderlands 2 except for like the very, end of the beginning of it, quote unquote, when I was like playing on my brother's profiles. But fast forward 10 years to Borderlands 3, I get a PC. And I was like, oh, Borderlands 3, like I played that on the PS4, might as well give it a go. Started streaming, and I was like, I don't want to stream Fortnite or one of these big games that, I still like to play. So I was like, why not stream Borderlands? And sort of like tied all, sort of all tied back together. And I ended up, one day I was looking through my, who I had viewers in common with, and like Sneaky Turtle and me had one person in common. And so like I clicked on his profile and he was hosting Haters, and like I hopped in his chat and he was like, do you want to come play with us? And there was where it started. Like I have to like shout out to Haters. That guy was who like he brought me into the community. Ended up meeting Sneaky, a few days after that, and it's just the history was born, and here we are today.
Yeah, I mean, quite the step up that you did there. It's kind of like amazing how like the support of the community just keeps on lifting people up and everything.
I think
Like-
between Fortnite, Borderlands, you made a good choice personally. So
I mean, you can play kind of.
I'm sorry, Shannon. I'm sorry. Cover your ears. Cover your ears.
I mean, there's a Borderlands skin. You can wear claptrap on your head and on your like back.
see,
Come
you can
on.
play Borderlands in
Oh.
Fortnite as
Yeah,
well.
Yes, I used to
Kinda.
get the Larry
Be like that. No, come on,
I
man.
played a bunch of Fortnite on stream. Like I got my first PC win on Fortnite on stream, and so it's not that I'm knocking Fortnite, but I switched to being like just Borderlands. I threw a little outright, but like what I mean. The support of the Borderlands community, especially on Twitch, in my opinion, it's just utterly ridiculous how much people love each other. You know what I mean? And like it really restored my faith in a lot of not just the gaming community, but the community in general that I'm a part of.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the last time I played Fortnite actually. I just did it for the skin, and I got like a W, and I was like, yeah, and then I was like, yeah, those were like 90% bots.
Yeah, Yeah.
The first game that you get like from chapter 2 back then. Oh man.
yeah,
Yeah, like totally. Like the community, it's also like has been helping me a lot. It's like it's wonderful. You just have to start. And they're here for you. It's like shout out to the community at this point. You're welcome.
most definitely.
Moving on, I kind of want to like go a little bit further. We just talked about like how did you get into Borderlands, but I was wondering like about different games. Like, what was your first video game? Maybe the first video game that you can actively remember. But what was your first one? What got you started into gaming?
Mega Man 2. I'm an old fart. I'm old. I'm almost
It's
40.
fine. It's
I'm almost 40 years old.
Mega Man 1. Hey, you're not that
Mega
old.
Man 2 for the NES.
Ooh.
For me, it was Super Smash Brothers on the Nintendo 64. And then the first game I like played and remembered to beat was Ninja Turtles on GameCube.
Ninja Turtles on GameCube.
So if that's gonna date Vander, I'm gonna kind of date myself the other way. Like I'm super young.
Yeah, I mean, wow, the GameCube. Yeah, like you'd think like that the GameCube is like very recent, but actually GameCube is 20 years old this year.
My camera tripod is actually balanced on top of my GameCube that I got when it first came out. It's literally,
wow.
it sits on top of my GameCube 24/7. It always has once I started streaming.
Even 20 years after its release, the GameCube doesn't miss. It just doesn't.
No,
has
it
the
does not.
purpose.
You are correct.
Yep.
So,
Saying is the
okay. Well, just moving on right to the next question. One thing that interests me personally, and I'd love to ask that question is, what's the story behind your username and profile picture? Like, how did that came to be? Broken English, VanderForge.
The username for myself was, oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to go first, Broken?
No, that's all right. That's all right. Go ahead.
All right. My username in particular stems off of a couple of things. The first part, Vander, is a little bit of a shortened version of what my age. And Vanderoth was the name because everybody has a username that, whether it's a game tag on like, Xbox or Steam or, social media platforms when you're in the online gaming world that you choose to identify it as, or like, my time in World of Warcraft. Vanderoth actually comes from the days of when I played a live action role-playing game called Amtgard. It's a full contact sport where you build weapons, you build shields, you get into cosplay, and you get together with your friends, like, it's very much not an inside thing. You build these weapons and you beat the ever-living piss out of each other, and it was absolute fun. And I had to come up with a name years and years and years ago to identify as a persona, to which I took Vanderoth and carried that through my online gaming time, up until the point of where I was sitting around one dark winter well before I was on Twitch, and I'm a very, very big advocate of Pokemon, and I wanted to do something Pokemon-wise that was just try to make a community, find like-minded people together to get together, play Pokemon, talk about endgame, talk about battling, talk about min-maxing stats, things like that. So I started a Facebook group called the BrokenInglish. And we tried to fire that up, and it was a flop. There was no like set leadership. We all tried to take this like, oh, how do I approach this? We all tried to take this like council position, and it just didn't work out because there was just nothing was getting done. It was just kind of like it became really stagnant, and then we left it alone for the longest time. Fast forward a little while longer after the BrokenInglish flopped on Facebook, I look into other mediums of trying to join it or like form a gaming community, and I stumbled upon Twitch, and I went onto Twitch. I told them about this platform, and I said, yo, so I see this platform, Twitch. I follow a lot of people. I'm digging this. I feel like I could do it. I feel I could get in there. We could have some fun playing Pokemon. If I started this, would y'all follow me? And every single one of the close people that remained in from the BrokenInglish said yes, that they would follow me. And so we sat there and talked about it, and we were like, what are we going to call it? And I'm like, well, I could take part of my name and then part of the old flop name for the Facebook group and put it together and go live as the VanderForge. And they're like, holy shit, fucking great. Let's go do it. So we did it, and here I am 6 years later.
Great. Also, like you talked about like LARPing. I think Pyrrhic knows a lot about that too.
Yeah, it's a fun fact. My name is also from my LARP persona, but I'm not doing medieval things. I'm doing post-apocalyptic things. But yeah, that's also my name from LARPing. But Broken, what about you?
So back in high school, I started producing music because I was really into Owl City and 21 Pilots. And there was something about the way they did their thing. You know, I would watch them perform live on YouTube or whatnot, and just like there was a way, something about what they did that just kind of like spoke to me. And so like I went to a festival in my hometown, and I saw a bunch of like big names in the EDM community. I ended up seeing the one that stood out to me. His name is Elenium, and he's more of like a bigger name now than he was back then. But like when I saw him play, I was just like, I want to do that. You know what I mean? Like whatever he just did to me, like I wanna do that. And so I started like, you know, teaching myself how to make music, and I was trying to come up with a name. And my grandma, she was like, why don't you just take your old last name, which is English with an I, and then use your middle name, which is Dean. And so I was Dean English for a while, and then I ended up meeting we just like sort of changed it. We came up with Broken English.
We have a we have a slight Discord issues, so if you could repeat the sentence after you said you chose Dean English, because the video just cut for a moment.
Oh, that's cool. So I was Dean English for a while, and then I met a friend at the time, and then we collaborated on the project. And instead of making a new name, we just decided to rebrand my current project. So we chose Broken English. Things didn't end up working out with him, so I just ended up keeping the name. And that was about 2 or 3 years ago. And then ever since then, I started performing in Denver, Colorado, and Colorado Springs. And once COVID hit, you know what I mean? I had really just bought the PC I've been using since then. And I just started streaming under the same name to kind of, you know, keep the branding the same. I didn't want to like, you know, diverge and have different stuff everywhere. And then I ended up making tunes for streamers. Which like ever since I did that, it's really sort of like conglomerated both of my like streaming and music projects, which is really you know, it's been really fun for me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so
see, I'm so glad that you had such a well thought out answer for that thing, because I've always felt like your name was me every day, because I can't speak, I can't talk, I fumble through streams all day, every day. And I was like, I feel like your name is speaking to my life on a very deep soul level of just like, no English whatsoever.
The thing I like to explain to people is like, the English isn't broken. I'm broken, not the English. Like, you know what I mean? I'm broken English. The English isn't broken.
I still think that most of us streamers who are not the English speaking ones, like for daily basis, resonate with your name like a lot.
I feel that, yeah. I feel that for sure.
Okay, so that was Grumpy's favorite question, and I like to ask you guys some more creative ones. Yeah, oh no, the creative questions.
Looking forward to those
so,
every time.
Tell me, guys, if you had your own manufacturing company in the game, what would be your special gimmick of weapons you'd create?
That is a tremendous question.
You need time, Vander, because I can totally hop into this.
I can go, but you know what? I took the first one, so you go ahead and go first, dude.
Are you sure? No,
yep,
you go.
Absolutely.
It's okay if you both have the same gimmick,
cool.
by the way.
Okay, cool. So I would make a manufacturer, or I would be a manufacturer who creates every type of weapon. And the only thing about my weapons is every pellet does every elemental damage.
At once?
At once. But the thing is, we only produce 5 weapons, you know, or like one of each weapon.
So like a very like exclusive brand made for the high society.
So it'd be like quote unquote pearlescence, but like they would still be legendary. Quote, you know what I mean? Like the mayhem, like locked behind mayhem levels, that sort of deal. That'd be my go-to.
And like have them deal like basically no gun damage itself, but the elemental damage.
Well, I mean, no, gun damage as well, but like the gimmick behind every gun, like, you know, like base it on like the rocket launcher. When it hits, it does cryo, incendiary, corrosive, rad, and shock damage.
So this question fascinates me because I think about these kind of things all the time, and like implementing different video game series that I'm passionate about to I guess keep the longevity of me enjoying games like Borderlands and keeping it up there and just keeping me inspired to play by doing fun things, role-playing elements to it, making stories behind characters. I love that stuff. It is right up my alley. If I were to have my own manufacturing company, it would be called Atreides. And the name Atreides is stemming from the movie. This is going to show my age once again, so I apologize for all the old folks that I'm representing today. The movie Dune has this mechanic, or not, I guess, for mechanic for conversation purposes, has a kind of like a force element called the weirding way. And what the weirding way is literally a way to control your own bodies and emotions so you can control everything around you. And it's a very, very focused thing that when harnessed into something that is essentially looks like a COV pistol in your hand called the weirding module, you can take that, you can use your voice to power it up and focus all of your energy and just do insane things, whether it's like destroy the hardest material that you can see out in front of you to knocking back. So I would do a manufacturing company called House Atreides, and the weirding way would be implemented into it. Whereas you take the actual microphone from the movie, you put it up next to your mouth, you have a COV pistol that looks like a weirding module, and the mechanic of the actual gun would be there wouldn't be any ammunition whatsoever. It would be a cooldown based gun whatsoever, because you would do the charge up, you would build up on the screaming, and then you would just the character would lunge out with the biggest freaking.
And excuse us, but that is a Discord issues again.
Clear out the area in front of him. So did it happen again?
Yeah,
Yes.
like we came to like the biggest freaking yell, and then
You said biggest freaking, and then I cut out.
Okay, cool. So the character, so the character would build up to like a big yell. It's kind of like how do I describe this? You ever seen an episode of Dragon Ball Z where Gohan or Goku just sits there and goes, ah? It's kind of like one of those dealios, but
like,
it's a more it's a more shorter, focused version of it, to where you let out just a high-pitched yell at the end of that long screaming, and that focused energy turns into actual energy being focused into the actual weirding module to do, massive things around you. So this gun that you could use it wouldn't be ammunition based, it wouldn't be damage based, it would be a COV looking pistol that relied and had a couple of charges, or like one charge on it. It would be an area of effect knockback, and it would be a debuff on all your enemies around you. So say you're in a heavy situation in the middle of a takedown, you whip out the weirding module, you charge it up for a little bit, and then you knock it out. All of a sudden, enemies fly in front of you, no damage is done, but they're debuffed, and then you switch to a different gun and kill them all.
I think the creator of Bane would like to have a word with you actually at this point. Also, yeah, thank you for. I was hoping you're not gonna say Dune, because I didn't want to feel that old today, but you just made me feel old. Okay, guys, you definitely had a lot of runs, different runs, modded, unmodded, with special themes and so on. So tell me, what was your most memorable run in the game? Like, if it was like some Allegiance run, or One Life, or any other specific gimmick you put into your run to make it more spicy.
What was? Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, for me, it was definitely I did when Redux came out. I got to do some testing of the mod, and so when it came out, I was really, really excited. And so what we did was a 100% playthrough, and like that, I used that as a loose term, because what I decided was we were going to do all the side quests and all the DLCs and all that. We didn't end up quite finishing, but which I do have plans to finish. But we ended up getting all the way through the story and through 2 of the DLCs and whatnot, and it was just a really fun time, seeing what was different with the game, finding stuff. You know what I mean? I saw Tannis fly on the fish for the first time. It was a really, really good time.
My time in Borderlands, and what I love the most, is kind of an aspect that I took from the days when I was a Pokemon caster. I used to do a lot of really fun shiny hunting streams on there, and it was about the thrill of the hunt for me. I'm not typically one of the person that does like a whole lot of runs. I mean, like, I demonstrate my builds and I go through like, the proving grounds and the takedowns and things like that. That's super fun for me, but I'm about the thrill of the hunt. And the most memorable run that I had, I was farming Katagawa Jr. for Sandhawks, and Shannon is going to remember this instance whatsoever, because it ended up being a very scary situation to realizing that it was just a stupid, silly situation, and she wanted to punch me for it. I was farming Katagawa Jr. for Sandhawks, and I got one of the highest damaging cryo Sandhawks that I had ever seen drop with URAD, and I lost my mind to the point to where I like, you know, the excitement is there. I'm all about the excitement of the drops and like getting that and just screaming, you know, because I'm freaking happy that I got the damn drop. It was one of the most solid natural Sandhawks that I had ever seen drop, and I screamed so loud that Shan's Immortal in the chat there, she was dead asleep, and she woke up in the middle of the night. And when I say this, I actually mean this. She woke up in the middle of the night thinking somebody was dying. She thought somebody was getting murdered in the house. I was high-pitched screaming. I'm sure the clip still exists on there. She wakes up. Her anxiety is 16-fold. Her heart's pounding, and she's thinking one of her daughters were like, you know, getting something happening in this house. When in actuality, it was my dumbass screaming about an awesome gun drop that I had just gotten.
Prime story.
It's always moments like these that you remember forever.
Yeah, no, we will.
Yeah.
She never hesitates to remind me about the experience. She's like, you know, when you go live today, can you just make sure that I don't think anybody is dying in the house? That'd be really cool.
I can totally imagine this conversation. Just casually over coffee, like, oh yeah, by the way. All right, but like awesome stories, like both of you. It's always lovely when you like hear about like all the things that happen during the streams. Moving on though. I've got a creative question for the both of you again, which is what other first-person shooter elements would you like to see introduced in the Borderlands if you could pick one?
Oh man, do you have 10 hours?
Yeah, sure.
Can we like zip it
like
into
this
like
out,
5 minutes?
Okay, guys, this is gonna be a very long episode of Me to Stream. VanderForge, go ahead.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of those things, but like choose the like one or two that you really would want to see happening in the Borderlands, like the creme de la creme of the ideas.
While he thinks about that, the one thing I would love to see, I know a lot of people would hate this, but I would love to see third person involved.
Oh, yeah, that's a good pick.
I really like Outriders. I really like Fortnite. It's just like the third person vibe of just like, I don't know. I feel more able to like sense my surroundings, I guess. Like playing Borderlands has got me a lot used to first person shooters because I typically don't like them other than Borderlands. But I would love to see third person integrated somehow or sometime.
I'm a Path of Exile nut. I'm a Diablo nut. I really like scary, in-depth, intimidating skill trees to do things with. And while I will say that Borderlands, especially nowadays, has phenomenal skill trees, and I've quite enjoyed them. I've enjoyed their inception as they've progressed through the different Borderlands games. I'm one of those people that, man, you give me 1,000,001 choices to go against a quote unquote meta. I'm all about that. There were 2 seasons ago in Path of Exile, I spent 600 hours on one character for the entire season. For the entire freaking season. And it was just some of the most in-depth fun I have had in a long time because it really, really gave me a way to go against whatever the quote unquote.
And excuse me for Discord issues. I don't know what happened tonight. What was
Just successful again. What is going on, Discord? Discord!
I picked a bad episode.
Get this shit together!
Hopefully it will help. As you were saying.
In-depth skill trees.
In-depth skill
Very
trees.
much in-depth skill trees. To going against meta to be just as successful as a meta build. If there was anything that I could take away from that is that there is definitely, you know, what it went in this game. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There is a little bit of a direction towards the meta to be able to do the most damage out there. You know, there's a lot of very talented and gifted casters, that do the numbers and that I learn from on a very regular basis, that I pay attention to, so that, you know, I can improve my own gameplay or my own understanding of the mechanics that exist in Borderlands. But man, if I could take anything, it would be to take, and it's intimidating for some. It really, really is, to have like so many options, so many choices. When the average casual player looks at a Path of Exile skill tree, they say, "No, fuck that. I'm going to play Fortnite.
That's
I don't
me.
want to ever look like that
Fortnite
ever
part,
again."
but I've seen the
Yeah,
skill trees.
yeah, yeah. You look at the skill tree. You look at the skill trees, and you're just like, "Oh my gosh, I don't want to attack this whatsoever." I look at the skill tree of Path of Exile. I'm like, "Oh, let's make something happen. Let's make magic happen." Hell yeah.
I felt the same way about the Outrider skill trees. I heard a couple people, you know what I mean? They were like, the skill trees felt a little too in depth, and they felt like we didn't have enough skill points. I was like, they're pushing us to like be resourceful with the gear and the, you know, the boosts of the skills and tree that we can get. So, you know what I mean? You get people like Garwood who are doing close to like what, 20 million damage or whatever it was in the clip I saw. You know what I mean? Just ridiculous amounts of damage. And you get him posting things like, "There's more to be had." That to me is cool. Like, I think that is very, it gives depth to the meta, whereas you can still enjoy the game without getting into the meta. That's where like I found the enjoyment of Outriders. And I've never played Path of Exile, but like that's where I'm kind of making my comparison.
Yeah, also I really support the sentiment, like the idea of just like being able to go off meta if you want to still being successful is something that I hold very dear to my heart, especially like in Outriders, because for example, I was just dying too fast. I didn't have the gear yet. I could just respec, go to middle tree where there were like 3 nodes with like 10% max health, and then go top or bottom.
Yeah.
Like this, I just love this. I love this variety, and also like I'm also one of those like underdog appreciators. So like if you like taking like a MOBA for example, I usually play those who are not in meta unless I have to, because I just like the challenge. I like to like not use the best thing there is and just breeze my way through things. So I really get where you guys are coming from. And those are great answers. And moving on from that, I was wondering, arms race, you know, recently with the new DLC, it got like new changes, new weapons. So like my question would be, if you like arms race, not how do you feel about the recent changes to arms race, but more generalized, how do you feel about arms race as a whole?
Not a fan.
Not a fan. Okay.
Not a fan. It's definitely, as far as like, you know, I guess the arena type games where it has like, you know, the circle that's coming in doing damage, you know, doing damages, and you have to focus, you know, do the focusing in and move from the point so you don't get caught in the storm and get damage up there. I was never really a fan of that stuff.
Excuse us. Be right back.
that I can enjoy casually. I'm very much.
Oh shit.
Uh-oh.
My bad.
Uh-oh.
I thought you were done talking. It cut out. That's totally.
You said you're not a fan of arena stuff, and then I'm sorry, it's not on our side. It's just Discord today is.
I want to beat up Discord. Right
Discord today is not agreeing with you. No, it's all good. It's all good.
Didn't have his coffee yet.
The first time this happened, really.
Please continue. Sorry.
I don't even remember. Oh, Discord, I'm gonna punch you right in the nuts because I literally was on a train of thought. No, I'm just like, ah! The arena style games where the storm's coming in has never been my forte. I don't enjoy playing it solo. I do enjoy playing it with other friends. It's definitely a much more enjoyable experience. And I'm not very good at necessarily at specific PvP games. Especially when it comes to like FPSs, whether it be like, you know, Valorant or PUBG or anything like that. I do appreciate the fact that it is a PvP or PvE element, and that, you know, you go in there and that you're rewarded for such experience. So I definitely take a little bit of enjoyment of getting together and being like, getting some friends together, playing it, and then going out and trying to get, you know, for the thrill of the hunt. But as far as a solo person aspect, I'm not a fan, man.
So on the other side, completely opposite of like VanderForge, I love arms race. It took me, you know, a little bit to get into it, but then mods came out and they did the Clear Skies event. You know, Spy really came in clutch with getting that mod out. like super quick. I figured out a really good recipe for getting what I wanted out of Arms Race. I, spent 6 hours a day, like for a month playing it without even realizing what I was doing, got super good, and found out that for the one person in me that likes Arms Race, there's about 1 million people like VanderForge who hate it, yet people still want Arms Race gear. Gearbox greenlit the mods, they greenlit the extractions of certain, their specific whatever, according to whatever. So my thing was, I'm good at Arms Race. I like Fortnite. They pretty much took Fortnite and Borderlands for me and put it together without the PvP aspect, and then gave me the ability to give my viewers loot. You know what I mean? For me, there was just like a recipe for perfection. I love being able to just like hop in with nothing, find that first legendary drop. I just went through the mod cabinet on the mod wiki, and I found out the modding community has been putting in so much work that I hadn't even realized. There's now like specific mods for Arms Race that I didn't even know that existed. So I don't have to have 7 different mods. I can just throw the one on there and still get the same result. But for me, I love the fact that I can hop in with any Bolt Hunter with nothing and get, have fun. Almost like I honestly like theory crafting in Arms Race. I'll get a Ionic Disruptor with, a Deathless that has sniper damage, and all of a sudden I realize that the weapon has URAD. And like for me, it's just like almost fun theory crafting from the ground up without having to worry about skill trees. It's already scaled without action skills, and then I'm still getting the gear that people, or to the people that want it. It's all, for me, it's just a really encompassing package that I really, really enjoy.
And I think that's a really cool thing about Borderlands, because we can find content that people have totally opposite opinions on. Some hate it, some love it, and there's always something for everyone to enjoy in this game. And
I wouldn't go as far as to say that I hate Arms Race whatsoever. It's just something that I don't choose to play.
like
solo wise,
not that much
and
enjoyable content, I guess. More
what Arms Race does well, what Arms Race does well, is it takes guns like, for me who spends time with people that make builds and use high-end damaging guns, high-end anointments, things like that, and going up and blowing endgame content. All of a sudden you get a gunnerang in the middle of Arms Race, and you're just like, well, I just beat the entire Arms Race for that round. I'm like, what the hell is who's gonna come at me? You get that world drop right there and be like, all right, guys, you can go to the boss anytime that you want to. It takes those legendaries that get forgotten about, and it gives them a purpose again. I do enjoy that aspect of it.
Going off of your point there, it's funny, like I'll be talking about specific gear with people, and I'll be like, oh no, this gun is good. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean, my guy? It's not. I always forget, like, I'm always, like, I play Arms Race so often that I'm always basing off of, like, you know what I mean? I'll get a, what's a good example? One of those basic world drops that are, not top tier, barely mid tier, but they work well in Arms Race. And I'll be basing it off of that opinion. And I'll always forget that, like, those guns aren't actually scaled for Arms Race outside of Arms Race. Just funny little tidbit there.
Talking about things we do enjoy, there is another question for you guys. So, what is the character that was in the previous games that didn't show up yet in Borderlands 3 and you would love to see in the Borderlands 3?
TK Baja!
Yeah, I was going to say TK Baja.
Too soon.
Resurrect Baja!
Yeah.
Too soon. Okay.
No. Too soon is Firefly. Okay, we're gonna keep the too soon out of this because you're gonna make people cry. I'm gonna talk about Firefly, and everybody's mood is gonna go to shit. Bring TK Baja back.
Yeah.
Right. I see you both agree on one character. Okay, that was very simple and easy to go for.
Any Gearbox people in the chat, take notes. Next Halloween event, it's against TK Baja.
Yeah. Why I guess? I don't know. He's like on the way to, because I'm sure General Hunt is going back as last year. Okay, so well, I'll go to the next question. Maybe it will take some longer answer from you. Which is your favorite build and why? Like, you can say something about this build. Maybe it's yours, maybe it's someone's, and what do you enjoy about the build you like most?
Vander. Oh, you want me to go first this time? I'm an avid fan of Zane. Zane in particular, his clone drone builds to clone Manus Cannon builds. I like the things that you can do with them. I like being able to use things like the clone for survivability situations to increase damage. Having 2 action skills literally blows my mind to be able to integrate into an actual gameplay of a build, and taking mechanics like you can invest into skill points, not have to worry about grenades whatsoever, and focus on strictly doing damage. Whereas, like, players like, I guess, sorry, Dan, I'm going to say it, players like most players who go out there and they're just holding down the gun, infinite ammo, and they're just spamming grenades the entire time.
It's
That's
fun.
not necessarily something for me. Yeah, it's fun for people. It's not necessarily fun for me. But I love the activity of like clone drone to clone Manus cannon builds to, whether it's drone shield, what however you want to slice it. Just I having 2 action skills to be able to work with is something that's mind blowing to me, and it's so much fun because there's always something happening, and like with the clone itself, you can literally do that to just teleport across the parts of the map, use that to boost damage and reduce damage to you, and it's just it's fun. It's highly active, and yeah.
Word. My favorite is a build that I started and was finished by the Kung Fu Turtle. Huge shout out to that guy. He is a whiz um, with Borderlands skill trees and equipment and whatnot. So this is it's called Acid Fist is what we called it, and so it's a phase flare Amara build. And like I challenged him. I was like, so I got this build doing decent. It can finish takedowns, it can do all the content, but I want it to do max damage somehow. He was like, okay, cool. The very same day, he's like, here you go. Remnant orbs do max damage. So you hit the phase flare, which I believe I've been told there was a ghost nerf that you can only hit it twice now, but you hit it a couple times and then you can just have the orb follow you around the map, and as it's taking everybody out, the orbs that it's spawning, they do max damage, and so I took that into it was the first build I took into Hermivorous, and one thing that was super frustrating was the phase flare does not interact with Hermivorous or Vermi the same way it does with every other enemy. So if it did, it would be basically, you know what I mean, a not very long fight. But even so, it was a very fun build to take through and finish with.
Right. Moving on, like from a favorite build, going like more to all the Vault Hunters. I was gonna ask you, which Vault Hunter do you guys think has the best visual design?
Can be
Like,
from
which one do
older
you
games
just-
as well, of course.
Yeah, from other games as well. Like the whole series can be like, can even be Tales if you want to, and yeah, just who do you think? Just who did you look at and think, man, that's a good looking Vault Hunter. I like this design.
I'm just gonna go my typical answer because I'm obsessed with having 2 action skills. Zane, it literally Zane changed the game for me as far as how I look at Vault Hunters. The things you can do, the different ways you can build him, and there's so many ways that you can approach a Zane build and to be able to be successful because he's an incredibly strong Vault Hunter. That's it. Yeah, I'm Zane main to the day I die at this point, essentially. But just it's the fact of having 2 action skills to be able to do things with that just blows my mind.
For me, like for the best visual design, like especially post DLC 6, like I'd have to say Flack. All of his body types and skins, like they all look just so like aesthetically pleasing to what I look for in like a oh my gosh that's badass sort of look. But like for like the one that nails everything in terms of like I'm sure if he had the option in Borderlands 3 was Zero. You know what I mean? That sleek assassin, spy look. Like I was always a fan of Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, and you know what I mean? It was almost like playing as one of them. You know what I mean? And for me, Zero would definitely be my pick for that one.
And would any of you guys' answer change if I would ask not for the visual design but like skill design? I guess Vander is still pretty much set on saying there, right?
Ooh,
Oh, is there something?
I think we're gonna have to go back to Zero if you're gonna take it that way.
Hmm.
Zero was a force to be reckoned with in Borderlands 2, and whether it was your strongest melee build to being able to go phantom and pull out your sniper rifles and just pop heads. If you're gonna ask it that way, I'm gonna have to go to Zero.
Right, and you Broken?
For me, this is honestly super hard. I've built with all 4 Vault Hunters in Borderlands 3, and I've done a few Zero and Maya builds in 2, and the person that has the most variability you can pick up with any play style, it would for me would honestly be Zane. You know what I mean? You want DPS, you go with Zane. You want to be able to live forever, you can go with Zane. You want to, like, at this point post DLC 6, there's like enough ammo regeneration for Zane that you could talk.
Yeah, right.
Zane. You can pretty much do whatever you want with Zane, and so not that he's my favorite or like any build I've done with him, like I've done the most damage with him with building from the ground up, and not having help on the build. So that would have to be my pick would be Zane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I kind of love how like you guys' answers just like flipped when I asked like about like skill design. Like you just guys looked at each other in the eyes like swap, yeah. Great. One more question. This is gonna be a very creative one. I also love to ask this question. Is if you had a loot explosion when you died, what would be in it? What would it contain?
It doesn't have to be in-game items, can be anything.
It can be everything. It's just like, yeah, someone
If
just
I had a loot explosion,
this is the best
what would pop out if I died? Ramen broth. Spicy tonkatsu ramen broth, pork chashu, extra noodles, extra egg, veggies would explode all over the place.
Damn, for me that is a really hard one.
Get your fillet of fish bullshit out of here, Epic. Fuck.
Epic, do we have to remind you of Manwich moment? No, so please behave. Thank you.
Come on. If I was gonna say anything, it would probably be like not to get crap, but like a gigantic amount of marijuana. What I go with.
All right.
So what you're telling me is every Vault Hunter would be seeking you out so they can chill the fuck out for the rest of the day. That's what you're telling me.
It's like the last farm for the day. You just farm Broken like 5 times, stock up for the week.
If I had to listen,
They quit on me a few times, and we will be feeling.
420 happens in the calendar, and Broken's like, okay, I'm gonna take a vacation to fucking Andes for the weekend so that nobody can find me.
Okay, 420. My chat had me do 17 dabs in the matter of like not a lot of time. It was not a lot of time, and I was like, guys, we're going for 6 hours today. It hit 4, and I was like, y'all, I gotta raid. I gotta raid right now. It is oof.
You know what? If I had to listen to Lilith all day long, I would also go then farm Broken and like got the proper loot. Actually,
every time you got to go talk to Lilith, you have to come farm Broken 5 times.
Progress.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
and
it's
that's
like
26 times in the game, if I did my math correctly. But I'm doing second round to check it.
Yeah, do it. I'd love to see like a Broken English like it was like a raid boss, and you're not allowed to use like fire weapons against him, else you get like debuffed with haziness.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna have Period draw this up. Broken
okay,
English
we'll talk about this. Sure. Okay. I have a question to you guys, more related to your streaming actually, which is who inspired you or what inspired you to begin streaming in the first place?
Oh,
his name was Mr. Talent, formerly known as Nips, in the Pokemon directory. He was the first person that I ever watched on the platform trying to get into the Pokemon community on the Twitch side that was out there, that wasn't afraid to be himself, that was crazy, kooky, zany, and just comfortable in his own skin. And I saw this man being comfortable in his own skin, putting on the show that he wanted to, entertaining his viewers with his zaniness, with his creativeness, with his I guess his comedy that he would bring into it. And I was looking at him, man, I was like, here's a man that is not afraid to be in his own skin, to be in front of a bunch of people playing a video game that he loves and that he's passionate about, and can really just take it and own it, and is himself through and through 24/7. And so that he was it. I saw him and I was just like, you know what, if this dude is not afraid to be in his own skin, I'm about that life, and like I think I can do this. So Mr. Talent, what was his name?
For me, I was always avidly against Fortnite when it first came out. And, I had a friend.
I love Fortnite. But I didn't like playing in the beginning.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I was avidly like one of those guys who was just like, Fortnite, you would never catch me playing that. I had this friend, and he was like, yo, why don't you just like watch this guy with me play it? And his name was it was Ninja. That's who we were watching. And so
all right,
I was like, okay, that's
him.
pretty cool. Like what he's doing, that's pretty cool. And he ended up rating Courage JD. And so like I ended up like sticking around and making my own account so I could follow this guy. And like I ended up following him through like his entire Fortnite career. And I'd always really wanted to be like, you know what I mean, like play video games for a living. That sounds fun, right? But it wasn't just really like about that. It was like I've always been an entertainer. I'm a DJ. I like being the center of attention. I don't mind being in front of people, and I like putting on a show. It's kind of, you know what I mean? Like my whole life is just like a show, basically. Like the way I am on Twitch is the exact same way I am in real life. It's the exact same thing. And, you know what I mean? I got decently comfortable with being on stage and performing and this or that. And when it came time to like figure out what to do with COVID, I was like, shucks. Like I have enough knowledge about, I've seen enough of these guys do what they do. It's just like with DJing, I'd seen enough of the guys do what they do. Like, why don't I just give it a shot? And so on the underneath, it's Courage JD, but like the people who like inspired me are the people who like Psychotic Wolf, you know what I mean, Moxie, Epic NNG, Sneaky Turtle, Haters MD, the people who have been in the Borderlands community about, you know what I mean, longer or just as long as I have. Those are the people who have and continue to inspire me to just, you know what I mean, they're the people who brought me in and accepted me. And it's just like watching Sneaky Turtle, you know what I mean, one day it was one day where I had spent 4 hours in Sneaky's stream, and I looked at the time, I was like, oh my god, I've been sitting here playing Stream Raiders watching Sneaky Turtle for 4 hours. And it was like, I want, like, that's what I aspire to do, is be able to put on a good enough show that somebody loses track of time and forgets about, what might be going wrong in their day or something like that. So if it comes down to it, like, everybody in the community is who inspires me, honestly.
I mean, especially in this community, there's a lot of, as we talked before, a lot of people who support each other, and they're always having each other's backs whenever someone's like feeling not so confident into streaming. I'll go back to creative questions again, and my another question to you guys is, if you could make a new vehicle for a Borderlands universe, what would it be? Any general idea on what kind of vehicle you want to see, or maybe something real in the game?
Then
I don't know.
Can be boat, can be plane, can be bike.
I would love to see an actual flying vehicle. Not like a jet or possibly like along the lines of some sort of Star Wars-esque, or even, they have the gigantic Malawan circles that come flying through, like, just make one that can fit one person. And
he wants a Millennium Falcon, Chad. You can just say it. He wants the Millennium Falcon to be able to be pilotable in Borderlands.
Modding team, modding community, get on that for me, please. Love y'all.
Epic, get to work. Redux
I was
Volume
like,
2, Flying Weapons, let's go.
Back. I got a cool 50 for you.
I think I'm going to take a little bit of a different turn on that and go to more of the, I guess, World of Warcraft aspect to it. You find a beast in the actual game that you can use as a mount. I mean, like, who wouldn't want to ride into combat with a mounted bullymong under you that you're just literally riding off in the distance there, or like, you know, the big T-Rexes, or like, you know, a big badass skag or something like that. I mean, like, how cool would it be to, like, some of those rare NPCs, like, you know, you go take down like a skag boss or something like that, or a monster boss, and that when killing that, you had a chance to get a drop for you use that boss as a mount to be able to ride around in the rest of the game for.
Devil Riders in DLC free
cool.
could be like, you know,
Yeah,
kind of.
I was thinking about those.
Prodigy, I hope somebody's listening to what this man just said, because we need that.
Yeah.
That is the best idea I've heard for like a vehicle and a, you know, that's awesome. Yours is better than mine for sure.
Also, it would give me an excuse, because when you think about bullymongs from Borderlands 2, who wouldn't want to riding around in Borderlands 3 going, yo guys, this is my mount, his name's Boner Fart, and I'm gonna go kill all the fucking enemies that are in this game right now. Who wouldn't want to run into combat screaming Boner Fart at the top of their lungs, right?
At best, have like a golden version of this mount. It's like a special edition. So they have like a golden fart. Like particles and everything. Just crashes bad PCs.
Oh no.
Cursed.
I was like, Puricle would probably love to farm all these mounts.
You know that I'm completionist.
Yeah,
I need everything in the game, every single skin. Yes.
Right. So I got like one more question for you guys, and it's a creative one again, like a very general one though. And I think it's a nice question to wrap this all here up. And I'm gonna ask you guys, what elements do you feel need to come together to make a truly great game?
Harley, I hate you for this question. I know it was you. I know this question was you, Harley. I know it.
I can check right now.
Doesn't matter would be the username on that. Man. Replayability and build diversity.
Very similar to what I was going to say.
Replayability and build diversity. Not having one focused single meta that is linear to go along. You can go outside that meta and you can still be able to perform strong in an actual game. And replayability, whether it's like, you know, dungeon content, takedown content, raid content, boss farming content, things like that. I mean, obviously the replayability is there, but I guess if I were to hone on two single things that keep me going is build diversity and real replayability.
Those are two super good points, and like kind of building off of that, for me, I think especially like I've consumed so much content, especially in the last year, but if not in the last 3 years, on video games and on Twitch. And after seeing what's worked for games and what hasn't, and experiencing some of those things in those games, like in Borderlands, what I've gotten from that is like replayability, and like for me specifically, or what I would say for like players in the Borderlands community, would be farmability of something. You know what I mean? Like the ability to get something super rare that's going to be way better than something that's not as rare, right? So the replayability and farming. But you also, like, for me, what I would also love to see in like an all-encompassing game is something that's not just focused on PvP and not just focused on PvE, but something that keeps them completely separate, but also has metas for both and isn't really controlled by one thing or another, other than just or PvE. Oh, okay. Did I lag again?
Yes.
Yeah, Discord.
2 elements.
One more before the end.
Yeah.
If you could. Where did you? What was the last thing you guys heard?
Please go ahead.
What was the last bit that you heard? Sorry.
You said like there are two things that need to come together, and then
like player versus player PvP and player versus environment PvE. And so like keeping those things completely separate and having two metas for both of those things in the same game, to whereas only the like player versus player, all you need to do is balance classes, and the player versus environment, all you need to do is balance the legendary classes and or the rare class to keep things not being one, specific thing. So for me, that would be entire, like, you can see that in Call of Duty. You can do PvE or PvP. And the things they kind of like, for me, they don't really hit on the head is it's like it's just Call of Duty and PvP put together, which it's already been that. There's no real difference. And so for me, it would be the replayability of a game, PvP and PvE options, and different metas for those games, if that makes sense.
Well, we'll be slowly getting to the end. So I have one more question for you guys, and something more creative but also a light subject for you. So if you had to prepare a dinner for your favorite Vault Hunter who would you have this dinner with, what would you prepare and for who?
I would make Amara a lovely spaghetti meal. Feel like
With
she'd
meatballs,
like
spaghetti meatballs, Amara?
Sure, yeah, with like
Yeah.
some nice garlic bread.
I feel like I could make a backyard barbecue spit pit and like roast a pig and like maybe I don't know, just all sorts of different steaks and meats like that. And me and Mr. Torg could sit down for a lovely afternoon screaming at each other about food and meat and potatoes and
Awesome.
That sounds badass.
You know what? I know there is a big popularity among streamers to the hot tub stream, but I would so much more like to see that you and Tork talking about meat than the hot tubs, and that's a great idea for a stream. I love it. Yeah, I see people say I'd pay to see that, and me too. Yeah, like that's a good
Yeah,
idea
like
for
everyone
for
would
a stream.
totally. Keep that idea in mind.
Okay, thank you so much, guys, for showing up today with us. I really appreciate your coming to
Thanks
us
for having me.
tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Before we wrap up, if you want to say something like say hi to your moderators or friends, tell us your streaming schedule, add anything from yourself, Broken, if you would want to add some.
If you guys ever want to come catch me playing some Modded Arms Race, it's typically what I do. You can catch me Monday through Thursday over at Broken English, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. If you happen to be in the Colorado area, I got some shows coming up. You can feel free to find information anywhere about that. I would love to give a special shout out to Alexandra at Universe. That's my lovely girlfriend. I love you so much, and thank you guys again for having me. I'm extremely honored. Thank you.
Thank you. And Vander?
If extreme aggressive positivity is your thing, if loud noises, high energy, extreme music, just a pumping environment, if you're looking for something to amp yourself up, to get yourself going for the day, stop on by. I do late night streams, preferably late night streams. I'm a North Scandinavian inspired variety caster that comes with roots of Norwegian heritage from my direct family, and I take that love of my heritage and love for my family and extreme positivity, and I just try to make somebody's day a little bit better whenever I go live, to creating laughs, to sharing moments together, to teaching people the things that I know and that I can share with others. It's a place where I open it up to anybody and everybody that I don't want you to feel left behind. So if that's your thing, come on out.
For those who tuned in the middle of the show or didn't catch it at all, we'll soon upload all of the interview on our YouTube channel, which is also the link in the chat for you guys. So thank you all for joining us here tonight and being an audience. Thank you guys for lovely conversation we just had right now, and see you guys around in 2 weeks, another episode, another lovely Borderlands streamers that we're gonna interview. Stop by our server. There's a lot of fun things going on. There's a lot of places you can go for some advice, for some help, to just chat and meet people, and have a lovely rest of your weekend. Bye. Thanks.